You know Graybar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Graybar does that.
I'm Ben Hill, and my favorite thing about minor league baseball is learning about America through minor league baseball. By following all the teams and getting to visit all the places, I've learned so many things about this country that I wouldn't have known otherwise. It's given me a richer, fuller, deeper appreciation of the United States. And at a time when people cannot agree on much, they do seem to agree on minor league baseball. So in that respect, it's a great unifier. And the coverage thereof is improbably given me a paycheck for many, many years, and I never expected that.
Hi, my name is Sam Dykstra, and my favorite thing about minor league baseball is getting the opportunity to say I knew players when. One of the first interviews I did when I started this job in 2012 was with an Angels prospect who had been sent down the year before in AAA, and a lot of people thought, who is this guy really going to be? His name is Mike Trout. Now we know him as one of the preeminent stars of Major League Baseball. And I got to say I knew him when he was playing for the Salt Lake Bees. And there have been countless stories like that over the years. Ronald Acuna Jr., Wander Franco, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So many of the stars of now were number one prospects at a certain time. And many of them weren't either. Like many of them were breakout stars, weren't first round picks, weren't signed for big money. And getting to cover the start of their careers and see them blossom into household names, still to this day, is my favorite thing about the minors.
Hi, I'm Tyler Mon, and my favorite thing about minor league baseball is just the people. I think you have to be a certain type of person to be passionate about minor league baseball, whether it's as a front office employee or a mascot or a fan or a clubhouse attendant or whatever it is. And the people who love minor league baseball are people who I tend to love because I think it takes a certain type of mentality and personality and all of that, and it brings out some really good people. And two of those people are on my Zoom screen right now. Sam Dykstra, Benjamin Hill, as we welcome you into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. We've been teasing this one for a while, and this is our fan extravaganza. Now, I am, among the three of us, not good with puns or words or wordplay or anything like that. And I know you dudes have probably been brainstorming names for this episode for a while. Ben, did we come up with anything snappy?
Well, we didn't, but I think you inadvertently basically came up with it.
I want to see if we're thinking of the same thing because I have one in my brain.
Right.
Now.
It's not a fan extravaganza. It's
a fan extravaganza?
No. It's an extravafanza.
I actually think I like that even better.
The thing's already in the middle of the word. Why are we trying to reinvent the wheel here?
All right,
I like that.
Yeah, it's best not to anger Sam. So this is an extravafanza. We're doing it.
Or I was thinking and we were joking about this before. Like this is your minor league life, right? Like we've been doing this show for a long time now. We've had a lot of great listeners over the years interact with us either on Twitter or out at a ballpark who have found us and singles us out to say like, hey, I listen. Now we're bringing them all on the show at once to talk about what their favorite things about minor league baseball are. And it's been a rich tapestry, I got to say.
Yeah, we've gotten a chance to talk to a few people already, and we're so excited to finally get this episode out to you. This is episode 405, I believe, of the Show Before the Show podcast. And, this is an idea that kind of germinated around New Year's that we talked about doing an episode in which we would focus entirely on people who have been not just fans of minor league baseball, but have listened to this show and have interacted with us and made us part of their minor league baseball fandom, and that's so cool. And it's a unique fan base. And I think Ben is probably best positioned among anybody to speak to that. The types of people that you come across and run into at minor league baseball ballparks across the country, or, at the winter meetings, or even just, you're walking down the street wearing a minor league baseball team hat and somebody stops you and says, "Oh, I recognize that." There's a very cool subset of people in this country and around the world who love minor league baseball. And we are certainly among them. And it feels like an honor for us to get a chance to talk to those people.
Yeah, it really does. Because we don't take it for granted. I try not to sound too cloying or sentimental or corny or whatever word you use. But, what we do is fundamentally niche in the larger, scheme of sports media. So I don't want to say we're more grateful than anyone else for our audience, but I think we're more aware of the audience because, like Tyler said, you do have to be a special person to really get into it the way we do, and to have people follow along with us, and to do an episode devoted to some of those people. And there's obviously a lot more. And if you're listening to this being like, what about me? A, we're sorry. And B, we hope to do this again. And C, we're really appreciative of everyone who engages with us, who we've met at ballparks, who listens to this podcast, whatever it may be. And I think it's really been great to be able to talk to a lot of people.
We did get a ton of submissions from people who wanted to be part of the show. And yeah, as Ben said, if we didn't get to you, we apologize, but we may very well be doing this in the future. And it was so cool and heartwarming and really humbling for us to realize, like, oh, a lot of people really like this show and really like what we do. And we really love all of you for tuning in from week to week. And should we dive in? Should we get started on this week's episode of the show before the show?
Yeah, and I also think we should do that intro like every week. That was very therapeutic. Very nice. That was just like a nice little reminder of
then you have to.
Yeah, I think we're all feeling our hearts are a little bit fuller today. And hopefully your heart will be full when you listen to the extravafanza.
There we go. I like it. Up first is one of our very good friends from the minor league baseball community, Paul Caputo, who I'm very happy we had on because we got a chance to hear Paul say his last name, so I didn't say Caputo and butcher it. Paul has been writing for about 10 years for sportslogos.net, which is one of my favorite stops on the internet. Chris Creamer, an internet legend. If you've ever wanted to look at the logo history of your favorite minor league baseball team or major league baseball team or any other team in any other sport, you can do that at sportslogos.net. Paul's written some really cool stuff about minor league baseball team nicknames and logos and histories and all that. And Paul joins us to kick off our extravafanza episode of the show before the show next.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi there. My name is Paul Caputo. My favorite thing about minor league baseball, it's actually three: ice cream and helmets, the stories that the logos and nicknames tell, and the great people that I've gotten to meet through this community.
Well, Paul, you've given a lot to dig into just with those three things right there. I'm going to start with something. Well, you're known for several things on Twitter and social media and the minor league baseball community at large. But the ice cream helmet Sundays is a big part of it. You have a room in your house devoted to these mini helmet minor league team logo mini helmets. You seek them out all over the nation. If you could talk a little bit about how this started and your ultimate goals for Helmet Sunday domination.
Oh, the ultimate goals is a great question. The ultimate goals is for every team to sell ice cream and a helmet with their own logo on it. I would love to see that because there's a lot of minor league teams that don't. I've got about 450 helmets on a shelf in my basement right now. They are on display because, as John Hodgman tells us, the difference between a hoarder and a collector is a display case. And it represents a lot of calories consumed over the years. It represents a lot of ballparks that I've been to. I love the logos. I love the ice cream. I love getting them at the ballpark. It's my one, like I said, it was my number one favorite thing about minor league baseball.
And what's your earliest memory of getting an ice cream helmet at a minor league game specifically?
Well, like Ben, I am a Philadelphia sports fan. My earliest memory is a maroon Phillies ice cream helmet at Veterans Stadium.
Yep.
Absolutely. From the 70s.
And
They
hopefully
sold them in other teams. And it always felt like cheating. I never got the other teams when I was at the vet. You had to get the Phillies one. So I had a handful of Phillies ones and one of them survived.
I remember there were summers when I was a kid when Dairy Queen did that. They had like a national campaign where they did the ice cream helmets. I thought that was very cool. Paul, you mentioned the people that you've met across this community. What was your first experience of kind of getting to know somebody through, the magic or the weirdness of the internet, or even just coming across people at minor league baseball games who had come to know you through your collection? What were those connections like in the early days?
Well, I have to say that this podcast was actually one of my early connections to the minor league baseball community. I remember moving across the country, listening to back episodes because I had just discovered this podcast. Little did I know that Tyler Maughan, who would someday have one of my favorite calls ever on the World Baseball Classic of Yu Chang hitting a grand slam. I mean, what a moment that was. Tyler Maughan, who I spent that whole drive listening to on this podcast, would someday tag me in a photo on Twitter with an ice cream helmet from Miami. That was a moment for me.
I was very bummed that it wasn't a World Baseball Classic logo helmet, but when I got it, I was like, I got to tell Paul about this.
How amazing would that have been? But some of the other folks I've gotten to know over the years, I do a podcast called Baseball by Design about minor league baseball logos. I've gotten to know the curved brim media guys. Ed Rivera does his Dad Hat Chronicles. Anna DiTomaso does the Baseball Bucket List. You're going to talk to Pat Larson. He does his minor league baseball hat history series. The guys from Baseball Mapper. Like, it's just such a great community. So supportive, so positive. And it's just really fun for me.
And obviously, you've got a podcast devoted to baseball design. Love minor league baseball logos. Don't want to put you on the spot, but you're on a desert island, and to survive, you have to have only one minor league baseball logo to carry you through. That's a very ridiculous scenario, but what one means the most, that has the most life-sustaining properties for you?
I think, especially on the desert island, I'd have to go with the Daytona Tortugas. I'm a huge fan of Dan Simon's work, and that Daytona Tortugas one is just an absolute classic for me. There's so many good ones, but it's so hard to choose a favorite. That answer changes from day to day, but right now at this moment, especially if I'm on a desert island, the Tortugas.
And you mentioned all those people that you've gotten to know through minor league baseball who also have their own podcasts and all that. What do you think defines what a minor league fan is compared to a major league fan? It's, a lot of people grew up with major league teams like you did with the Phillies, but it seems like a special brand of person really gets into the minor leagues. How do you kind of define what makes a good minor league fan?
My experience has been that people who follow minor league baseball are there to soak in baseball, just the love of the game. The actual, emotional investment in who wins and who loses is less important at the minor league level. It's more just about the experience, the food, the atmosphere, the between innings activities, the community. When I'm at a Phillies game, I'm emotionally invested in every single pitch. Whereas when I'm at a minor league baseball game, I'm just soaking up the great atmosphere.
So we've covered a lot in a short amount of time, but do you have any closing words as a top level premier minor league baseball fan, in terms of what is so special about it to you? You've hit on a lot of that, and then what you're looking forward to this season in 2023.
Well, Ben, I've followed you and your writings for so long, and the road trips that you have gotten to take, and the writing that you've done about experiencing these different ballparks on different levels. For me, my minor league fandom is rooted in a road trip that I take every year with buddies, which is called Baseball Palooza. These are college friends from 30 years ago. And every year we pick a different part of the country and we go to 4 games in 4 days at 4 different ballparks. And it's got to be minor league, right? Like, it's got to be minor league games. And that, that friendship that we've maintained through this trip, they make fun of me because I've got the spreadsheet and the Google Doc and the plans and everything's planned out. They say I'm like the elves from Elf, in that I start planning for next Christmas on December 26th. Baseball Palooza, planning that out every year is just a huge part of my my fandom, and yeah, again, just coming back to that community, the friendships, the environment of the game.
Hi, my name is Luz Rivera, and I love minor league baseball because you get to learn about players before they make it if they make it to the big show.
Luz, you are one of the people that we've been most excited to talk to this year because you came upon a project over the offseason in which you found the Show Before the Show podcast and you listened to every single episode. We're at 405.
Forwarding.
It's incredible. You told us pretty early on over the offseason. I think this was like October when you first tweeted at us and said that you had just found it. You're going to listen to every episode. I have to ask the question that's been rolling around in my head.
Okay.
Why? What did we do to you to hook you on this?
It was so much fun. It was interesting. And also, I like to know, like, when you guys talk about certain players, like, all right, did these guys really pan out? Did everybody, or who, like, it was exciting to hear about guys that you're like, oh my God, yeah, he plays every day. I see him. Or some guys are like, wait a minute, who's that? Like, what happened to him? That was fun. But also just your stories. You guys were just so much fun to listen to. The visiting all the parks, it was great because I want to visit all the MLB parks, and I'm about maybe a third of the way, but I was like, ooh, I'm gonna add minor league parks now. I've been to some, and I just thought that was so amazing. And just the story, everything, the fun stories, the food stuff. Like, I've gone to games but never was that committed to it, and it just made me fall in love with it more. And
that's awesome.
I live in Williamsburg, Virginia, so I'm pretty, like, I got a lot of parks that I drive to. Yeah. So
that's amazing. You've got so much within driving distance. Was there anything of your journey through 400 plus episodes? Is there like one or two things that stood out, especially looking back on, when we talk to players in the very earliest days of the podcast who are in the big leagues now, what are some of the things that you remember coming across? I'd be fascinated to go back and look at like our guest list and listen to those interviews. Yes. What kind of stands out?
Like, well, one of my favorites was, of course, the poem you guys did the night before opening day. I mean, I love that. That was awesome. The interviews with guys, like, to learn about some of the stuff that they went through, like, personally, like, that had nothing to do with baseball. I forget the young man's name, and I don't think he's playing anymore, but, like, lost his parents to a shooting, and that was just like, oh my God. And then listening to you guys when it was during COVID shutdown, my hair stood up because you can hear the despair, the uncertainty. And it was just like, I wanted to be like, it's going to be okay, guys.
We needed that so badly at that time.
Yes. And I was just like, I needed this show then and didn't even know. And I was just like kicking myself over that. But it was just me. And I just felt it. It was crazy.
So after you've kind of taken this journey with us along the way, and you were talking before about, you tried to hit all these major league stadiums. Now you're adding minor league stadiums to your future areas. But how are you taking what you've learned over these 400 episodes and applying it to how you look at baseball now?
So just looking at the different things, I would go and just focus on the game. Now I want to see everything about, the area, the places, the foods. I was one to like just try to get something really quick, sit down and stay in my seat from the first inning to the last inning. I don't want to miss anything. But I'm like, there's so much more cool stuff going on that, you're just going to have to take that into, like, not just the baseball. I think that's one thing. I love the Copa. I've never been to any of those kind of games. And I'm like, that sounds amazing. And just the different food identities as well. It's crazy because I think I went to one in Norfolk years ago and I didn't realize it at the time. Like I was just like, oh, they have some random weird jersey on, but I didn't really know. So now I like the background knowledge.
Well, now that you've listened to all of them, I guess we need your power rankings. Who is number 1, 2, and 3 among the co-hosts?
How did I know this was going to be?
God!
All right, I kid. We do not need to get in there. I had to put it out there. We all know the answer in our hearts.
I love you all. I'm gonna have that mama answer. I love
you. But no, about you. You mentioned you live in Virginia now, but you were in an email you sent us. You said you were born and raised in the Bronx. You see a Yankees hat right there. And that you work with high school sports now. So, I mean, in addition to really getting into minor league baseball and listening to the podcast, it seems like baseball has been such a huge thing in your life. And, what was it like, growing up, with the Yankees around and just staying involved as a fan, a lifelong journey?
Yes, Bronx, New York, but half my family are Mets fans and half are Yankee fans. So I don't hate either team. I actually fell in love with the game at Shea Stadium. The oldest of all sisters. So of course I'm the one that got to go with dad to the games. And at first I used to fall asleep. I was a little girl, and he taught me to keep track of the pitches. So just simple. I was like balls and strikes. That's all I did. And then until I just got hooked, and then I was just following it and then learning how to take a book. So I love doing the book. I've done that for years. So I did that for my husband's teams, my kids. I always have a book in my hand. So I like doing it that way, even though they have some computerized thing called Game Changer. I prefer the
I can't do that either. I'm
pa-
with you.
Yeah, I like paper and pencil.
Same. I'm with you.
So yeah. So yeah, since then, so Mets fan mostly, and then I like the Yankees, and then I married a Yankee fan. So that's the way it goes.
Well, you mentioned always, keeping score with a pen and pencil, or a pen and paper, pencil and paper. We were talking about that a few weeks ago, of like how do you keep score. But how do you feel like the game has changed since those first days at Shea Stadium for you?
Well, a lot has changed. I'm one of those weird people. I like the pitcher batting. I just think everyone should hit. So I didn't like that rule. The extra innings guy on second, that's so weird to me as well. I'm like, how do you do that? How can that pitcher get the loss if that wasn't even his run? I hate that. But I mean, it's still fun. It is going faster with the pitch clock. I was kind of, worried about that one. But I've been watching the games, and I think that's been fine. But I think a lot of the new rules are just helping the batters more. But it is what it is. Not too bad. I still love the game, so I do.
Yeah, well, we're talking here in early May. Still a lot of the season left to go. And this is the question we're closing with everyone. What are you most looking forward to? With the remaining chunk of the 2023 minor league baseball season.
Just get into games. So I work in school. I'm done in June, and then just getting to games in person, and then watching, seeing who does what, and go to as many games as I can. But that's my favorite part of it, being out there.
My name is Patrick Larson, and my favorite thing about minor league baseball is just the community around it. I love the fact that minor league baseball is something for everybody, that everyone is welcome. And I love the fact that even someone that likes to come to a game, whether they like to come for the actual baseball, for a beer, or just to hang out with friends, it's a place that everyone can come and be safe and enjoy themselves. And I just I love the fun that it brings in. So those are just a couple of the things I like about minor league baseball.
Well, part of the fun, and certainly I'm sure part of your fun, are the logos, and in particular the hats. A lot of people know you on Twitter as some iteration of the minor league hat guy. You have a weekly update highlighting all the hats of a specific team. When there were 160 teams in the minor league landscape, you had at least one hat for every single one. So let's keep it simple. Just tell us about the hats. How'd this all get going?
So it started with just looking at the minor league logos and just seeing how fun they were. And I've always been into hats, but then really a few years ago when they got into when the Rocky Mountain Vibes came out and the Rocket City Trash Pandas, it really brought me back into the minor league baseball space as far as the fun logos are concerned. I've gone to minor league games since I was little, but just seeing all the fun logos made me start digging around and researching. And I found your podcast, and I found all of you, your articles on minorleaguebaseball.com, which everyone should check out. And it really reminded me of just how fun baseball can be, because a lot of times at the major league level, it gets into we root for one team instead of just having the love of the game itself. So I really personally like the teams that have the really out there logos, the really wacky logos, and kind of like the ones that I mentioned, and then the Amarillo Sod Poodles. And then before I knew it, I started collecting and had most of the minor league teams. And then I said, well, I've gone this far, I might as well finish off the collection. So, and then when I got through with one of all 160 minor league teams, I was like, well, they also have other hats. They also have road hats and alternate identity hats. And so the monster grew from there.
Yeah, and first off, this is going to be, an audio medium, but take us through the hat you're wearing now. I mean, you are wearing a kind of out there hat yourself.
Yeah. So right now I'm wearing the Akron Devil strips, which is going to be an alternate identity for the Akron Rubber Ducks this season. My understanding is that the devil strip is the patch of grass in between like the sidewalk and the road. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but yeah. And so leave it to Akron to bring out yet another alternate identity along with their actual like rubber ducky and so many of the other great logos. And so it's an all black hat with an actual devil face on it, and it's a devil head, excuse me, and it's really really a fun logo.
Patrick, what's the process for buying a hat from one hat guy to another? As we've nerded out over hats on Twitter before together, everybody's got their own thing that hooks them with a hat. You have to have some kind of connection to it, or you like something specific about the logo. What is your process when you decide, no, that's one that I'm going for?
I think a lot of it has to do with the tie-in to the local community. I really like something where I really like really vibrant logos, but I also really like the story behind what ties the logo to the community. And Akron's really really good with that with their food identities, right? So I love like the Akron JoJo's from last year about knowing that you could go get JoJo's at a local Akron restaurant. And then these are things that not only do I like the hats and do I want to get them, but hopefully when I make it to the stadium, that's going to be part of my trip is to go and really experience that local fare. And so I think another thing would also be like the colors. I mean, all navy hats are great. And even though I'm wearing an all black hat right now, all black hats are great, but I really like the bright colors and anything that can make it pop. So if it is going to be an all black hat, it needs to have and this one, like the vibrant red and the vibrant green to kind of make it pop a little bit. So I think to answer your question, I think it's mainly the local story behind it, but also the quality of the design as well. But I think all those kind of things together, which so many designers across minor league baseball do such a great job of doing. Those are kind of the factors I take into consideration when getting a hat.
Now, Patrick, you don't just wear hats; you also sing.
Great segue. I do.
But you informed us in an email you sang the national anthem at a Gwinnett Stripers game last season. How did that come about? And as a follow-up, we might have to ask you to maybe sing the show before the show theme song, which we haven't written yet, but we might have to get your vocal talents in for that. But let's start with the national anthem. That's an iconic experience, very nerve-wracking. How'd that come about?
So you know how a lot of minor league teams do a call for tryouts for singing the national anthem? Well, it's always been kind of something I've always been interested in doing. So last year I took up the invitation and they had virtual tryouts, and really, really consisted of kind of what a lot of teams did during COVID about recording yourself singing the national anthem, which was really strange to record myself doing. But I submitted it to the team, and a month or two went by, and right before the season, they reached out and they said they had a game during the week, because I don't think I have one of those voices that's set for the weekend games. I think it's more one of the ones that's set for the weekday games when they need somebody. But nonetheless, I was very honored, and it was nerve-wracking. But I'm also going to be doing it again this season. I'm doing it actually tomorrow. After this is being recorded, by the time this is maybe released, I'll maybe have already done it, but I'm going to be doing it at the next Gwinnett Stripers home game.
All right, Patrick. Well, what is your next hat? Like, what are you looking out for? What is your white whale that you don't currently have?
That's such a good question.
Is it a white whale?
And it is a white whale, yeah.
Or an exploding whale.
Or an exploding.
Oh man, I managed to be one of the lucky ones to get an exploding whale's hat. So I was one of the ones that got it within less than 2 minutes. I'd say that the one I'm looking for, Sam, to answer your question is a throwback. Is actually the Portland Rockies. One that's it was the Casper Rockies, and I don't have a fitted of that yet, but I did manage to find an adjustable snapback version of the Casper Rockies. So that one. So for a while it was the Daytona Cubs, and I found that. Oh yes, Tyler's bringing it out. I love it.
Tyler did not even get up out of his seat.
No. The problem is that I got the like blurred filter on Zoom, so you can't even see. It's just it's recognizing that it's not a human being and it's blurring it out.
That's beautiful, and it's even more impressive. You didn't have to leave your seat to find it. That's
I knew exactly
impressive.
where it was. It was
That's impressive.
It's right near the Casper Ghost hat, so it fits.
Yes, and so I would say the Portland Rockies at the moment, but it's always fun to kind of have one of those old logos to try to find. And I scour eBay quite often, probably more often than I should, because I'm on MILBstore.com way too much, or one of the team's official store websites, and always kind of figuring out. And then I found the theme night collection section of the MILB store, which is really dangerous. I found the collection store, which is also very dangerous. So Portland Rockies is next on the list.
Early May, still a lot of season left. Patrick, what are you most looking forward to beyond singing the national anthem tomorrow? What are you most looking forward to in 2023?
Well, I'm looking forward to visiting a couple more stadiums. I definitely have planned to try to make it to Wichita sometime this season to go see Riverfront Stadium. And my goal is to try to see at least 3 new stadiums this season sometime. So I'm hoping Wichita will be the first, and then something probably within more of a reasonable distance from me to go and see. But I don't have a lot of the big week-long trips that a lot of people that you'll see on Twitter maybe have, but I'm just excited to have baseball back again. Wherever I get to see it, it's always a gift to be able to just go out to the ballpark and walk around, take in the environment. And really, it's just to be intentional with my time and really enjoy those experiences and stay off of the phone and just enjoy the atmosphere, because so many times we get caught up in our phones. I'm one of the worst. And I think just to try to enjoy the people that are there, the people that are working hard to provide that experience, and looking forward to more of the show, the show before the show podcast, and just seeing what great content that you guys keep coming out with as well, because it's excellent. You guys do a phenomenal job.
I'm Chad Miller, and my favorite thing about minor league baseball is the competition. I am a huge, big baseball fan in general, but I've been following minor league baseball since I was a kid, growing up in Austin, Texas. I have a short bucket list right now to see every minor league baseball stadium in Texas. But right now, I've only seen Round Rock, Midland, and a couple others. But yeah, man, the competition is amazing. These guys are fighting for the chance to move on, get up, and get to the show. Of course, they're trying to get there. It's at a point where they're always fighting, and it's always great to see. You can never get a boring game in minor league baseball, just because that even though the game may be out of question, these guys are still trying to fight for that spot to move on. And so, yeah, the competition is definitely the best thing I love about minor league baseball.
Yeah, and Chad, I'm glad you mentioned you're from Austin, Texas, because the reason we're having you on here is you were very helpful in the Austin Knights discussion that we had on this show a couple of months back. One of our favorite episodes of the 405 that we've done now, 405 plus, not counting special ones. But just take us through. You mentioned your goal is to see all of minor league baseball in Texas. What kind of defines what Texas minor league baseball is?
Well, obviously, the main thing that defines is, of course, are they minor league baseball and are they in Texas? Obviously, but
very good point.
Exactly. But of course, y'all probably already know Texas is a giant market. And minor league is definitely not without a doubt. There are, if I remember correctly, 7 minor league teams active in the state of Texas, and they're just all super competitive. I follow each and every one of them respectively. Personally, of course, I'm an Astros fan, so I have a little more lean towards the Hooks and the Space Cowboys. But of course, being from Austin, I'm a big Express fan. I've actually gone to Midland to see the Rockhounds. I want to go see the Sod Poodles because, first of all, that's an amazing name. But it's just something special about Texas, man. You can never go wrong about these teams and the individual personality that each team brings to the table. Of course, it's so diverse here. We have the Space Cowboys and the Hooks, the Missions, all the way to the Chihuahuas. Like just a huge gap, and it provides so much in there for any baseball fan in Texas, even outside of Texas, to love about each and every one of them.
Kat, I gotta ask, you were the inspiration behind our design a team logo, identity, nickname, that whole thing. But I have to get your take on. So you originally submitted the Austin Knights with a K. We modified it a little bit and went with the Austin Knights, just Nights. First of all, your reaction when you learned that we had picked your submission, and your reaction when you learned that we tweaked it a little bit, and we were obviously super thrilled with how the logo came out and the name and all that. We're still waiting to hear from Round Rock as to when they want to take that and grant us all the royalties so we can split it 4 ways. But give us the rundown of how that whole thing felt on your end.
Man. So let me start with just thinking of the design. You know, I happen to, and this, of course, you know, and I hate saying this, admitting this, because I wish I started sooner. But this is how I found the show, the podcast, is the tweet that the Minor League Baseball retweeted, because I follow the page on Twitter. And so I'm like, oh, you know what? Why not? I saw that I only had like 5 replies at the time. Like, why not? Let me throw something in there, give a little blurb. I'm huge on just, I mean, definitely the reasoning behind it was minor league baseball, but I'm definitely so into making new teams, especially as a kid. I used to do all the creative team stuff on video games, all that fun stuff. And I'm like, why not? And I play MLB, MLB The Show. And so my go-to Diamond Dynasty team is called the Austin Knights, because in Austin, the citizens are called Austin Knights. So, of course, split up a little bit more, put a little space there, Austin Knights. It works perfectly. And for me personally, I always just like y'all took a way unique view, but I'll jump into that in a second. I just love the night look. I love the Charlotte Knights have an amazing branding. Even like the more current one, the more newer one is a little different, but I still definitely enjoy it a bit. And any team that involves like the night is, just like a fighter, just the branding of it is always so great. And so I'm like, yeah, let me just do with that. Why not? Worst case scenario, they just don't use it, and I just found a new show to listen to, and I saw the episode came out because I saw the tweets about it. It's like, oh, hey, we got the new episode. We selected a team, come listen. I'm like, oh, sweet. Okay, cool. And so I pulled it up. I'm in my car, and I'm actually driving to McDonald's, of all places, to get me and my girlfriend some lunch. He was actually just crossing by there. And I'm listening, and you're talking about it. And then y'all kind of start teasing the fact that y'all picked mine. And I'm like, oh, no, they didn't. No way.
This is the first episode that you would listen to of our podcast. And that is a pretty dang cool way to be introduced into a new podcast.
Yeah,
exactly. I was listening, and then y'all said it, how you said my Twitter handle, and of course I had just ordered, and I'm in that line going into the window. I'm like, holy smoke! I'm like, what in the world? How? Like, why they pick mine? And I was shocked. I was stunned beyond belief, and I was excited, because I'm like, holy crap! Okay, they picked mine. They, let's see what happens. I'm curious what they did with it. Because I'm like, either they just use my design or they tweak it a little bit. Which, I mean, obviously y'all are more creative than I probably am. So definitely let y'all run with it, right? So I listened to it, and then I realized, okay, Austin Knights, cool. They're sticking with the name, and then they talk about the night sky, and I'm like, wow, that's like an amazing choice, like an amazing direction with it. I personally loved it, because growing up in Austin, in the Austin area, it was awesome to be able to imagine that in my head, because I saw it all the time. And then of course you mentioned incorporating the bridge and the bats and like having the sunset. And then I don't know if it was direct or on purpose, but then like when I saw the logo when y'all put it out about it just immediately like connected to my Astros too, with like I could just imagine the fallback, the Adone tequila sunrise, if you may, and it was just amazing. I loved every single element about it. And like when it first came out, I came home, and of course, my girlfriend, bless her heart, she tries to keep up with myself and try to stay into the things I love. And I just ran in the door with lunch in hand, like, honey, they picked mine. And she's like, what are you doing? She gave me this normal eye whenever she goes wide eyed, and she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, they picked my team, they picked my design, they picked my name. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, okay, okay. So I rewind and I hit play again. And I have her listen to it. And like, and she got excited with me. She's like, holy much, they really did. I said, yes, it was awesome. And man, it was amazing. I loved it, every bit of it. I'm still in awe sometimes when I think about it, because I have the picture saved on my phone. I'm still in awe about it, like being able to be like, wow, these guys, who I listen to now, and one I watched on TV during the WBC, like these guys picked my design, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it was amazing. Yeah, it was just, man, y'all are amazing guys. Thank y'all so much for even picking mine, but just like, just giving me a whole inspiration. I'm actually currently in the works about it. I know I mentioned it in the tweet, where I'm actually trying to get with somebody to make it in MLB The Show, so I can make a uniform with it and use it.
That was going to be my
Diamond
follow-up
Dashers.
question, so I'm very happy that you noted that. Okay, good.
Yes. It's not done yet. Of course, I want to make it look nice, so I'm going to pay someone to do it. Yeah, so I'm going to make sure someone gets it done. And trust me, whenever I get it, the first people getting it is y'all, man. Y'all are gonna get screenshots and look at it. Yeah, I want y'all to be able to show it off, all that fun stuff.
All right, Chad. Well, we're ending every interview by asking folks this: what are you looking forward to most about the remainder of the 2023 minor league baseball season?
Honestly, just the games, man. It's seeing the stars rise into the not only for my Astros but for every team. One of my favorite minor leaguers is Ellie De La Cruz, who is amazing swing, and playing with him road the show is amazing. I'm playing with him in an MLB The Show is amazing. But seeing those guys who, obviously, yeah, people like us follow them, but then like to know that they're gonna eventually get there one day and be known to everybody who only really watches Major League Baseball, and just looking forward to the stories that come from these players, these teams. Even because y'all have seen it, we've seen guys be drafted back when they did it, and like in the 20-something round, and they're big league players now, and being able to see those guys come out of nowhere, and then of course seeing those guys who Jared Kelnick comes to mind, who I loved coming through the system, and it sucks seeing the him struggle, but then now this past month taking off. And I saw when he hit like the 450 massive bomb at Wrigley. I saw it on TV, and like, it's just the stories, man. That's what I really look forward to seeing. That's what I really look forward to reading. And eventually, when it gets to that point of when they finally make it, that's what I'm very excited to see.
My name is Johnny Bolin, and my favorite thing about minor league baseball is the love and quirkiness of the beautiful sport of minor league baseball.
And you're saying this to us as you're wearing a New Orleans Baby Cakes hat and a New Orleans Baby Cakes shirt. For anybody who's listening and can't watch this right now, you talk about quirkiness as one of the quirkiest identities of the last decade. But what do you remember as being like the first quirky thing you saw about the minors?
I really started well, of course, I grew up with the Birmingham Barons, which you can't get more traditional than the Birmingham Barons, Old English B. But then in the early 90s, really in college, we would have some local stores around Birmingham that was actually selling minor league hats, pre-internet. I know that's hard for some listeners. There was an era of time where there was no internet shopping. And my first hat, minor league hat, besides a Barons hat, was the Toledo Mud Hens, and just loved the logo. Like, wow, what team is this? And I didn't even know what team it was. Thankfully, the sticker that you purchased, the hat, the barcode sticker told what team it was. There was no looking it up online to see what team this was, and just loved the fun logos, the nicknames. And that's what got me hooked. Really did.
Johnny, you pointed out in a note in your email to us that you were once interviewed on television in Biloxi because of a Twitter post about, I'm going to let you fill in the blank and tell us the story.
Well, guys, this is the most southern beginning of a story I went to church with a tattoo artist. It doesn't get much more Southern if it followed up by we had a dinner on the ground potluck afterwards. But the Shuckers kind of became, when we moved to Mississippi, I didn't have a team. Grew up in Alabama. We lived in New Orleans. So I was firmly entrenched with the Zephyrs, but kind of wanted my own, a team here. And so we used to live about 2.5 hours from Biloxi. And so that became our adopted team. And so in my love of the Biloxi Shuckers, and my wife kept challenging me, well, you keep talking about getting a tattoo. So
She's trying to call your bluff. You keep talking about it. Why not a Biloxi Shuckers tattoo?
Yeah, like that old saying, don't tell me about the labor, show me the baby, right?
Which is, I believe you're quoting from Ryan McGee's book, and we had him on the podcast recently. That was the GM of the Taurus used to say that.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I love that expression. And so the guy, like I said, that I went to church with on the tattoo establishment in beautiful Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and got the tattoo done, posted a tweet. Next thing I know, I'm getting messages from a TV station in Biloxi about coming to, and how they found me, how they found the tattoo. Yeah, it was one tweet. And it just led to direct messaging and blah, blah, blah. And then it was also the day we did the interview, like the weather was terrible, guys. I mean, terrible. Like, are they going to play? Is this going to happen? And I mean, we did that interview and met the reporter, and I mean, it's stormy. I mean, the clouds, it's like a scene out of a movie, just overcast, cloudy, but they played. We had a game that they had a game that night. And so, and what the Shuckers did that was pretty neat is, my favorite former Shucker is the great Brett Phillips. And we had met Brett in Pearl in April of that year, 2016. And so they had asked me in one of the conversations, one of the messages, well, who's your favorite Shucker? Oh, Brett Phillips. Yeah, we had met Brett Phillips, a few months earlier. And this was in like August of 16. And Chris Harris, now the voice of your Mississippi Braves, came out with Brett Phillips. So not only did we get interviewed for television, local television in Biloxi, I got to meet again the great Brett Phillips. Now, did I have anything to sign that day? Did I know that was going to happen? Absolutely not. Now, he had signed a Braves baseball in April of that year. So I did have an autograph from him already, but it was just a really cool experience that the Shuckers did.
Yeah, so you got the tattoo, but obviously your fandom goes beyond the tattoos. You celebrate in a lot of ways. The first bobblehead in your collection was Boudreaux Nutria, the Zephyrs mascot. And talk about, Southern or regionally specific, or the things you learn about, American culture through minor league baseball. I don't think before writing about minor league baseball, I knew what a nutria is. I mean, am I even pronouncing it right? But you're a big fan of Bordeaux and the nutria mascot. Can you just inform us about him as a mascot, but also the species he represents?
Well, apparently it's a pretty vicious member of the rodent family. And it will destroy pretty much anything it gets a hold of. I'm like you, Mr. Hill, until we moved to Louisiana in 2000, I had never heard of one. And went to our first Zephyrs game, and we're like, what's that mascot? We didn't have a clue, what it was. But apparently they're pretty feisty animals. I would love to see the Wind Surge have a Cakes night where Boudreaux is brought back. I think minor league baseball needs a reemergence of Boudreaux de Nutra. His wife, Clotilde, they had like kids. They had little masks. I mean, they had the whole Boudreaux de Nutra family. So
is that how you say it? Like Nutra?
Nutra, I believe is how it's pronounced. Nutra.
I was doing this clipped up tight Nutria, but it's like Nutra.
Nutra, I believe, is that how it's pronounced.
We got to remember that going forward. Yeah. And I do remember when I first found out about Nutras, I was Googling them and trying to learn more about the mascot, but inevitably I came across a link that had a bunch of recipes. And apparently there was so much overpopulation that there was encouragement to kind of hunt these and kill them and eat them. Have you ever had a Nutra, like, boiled, roasted, fried, barbecued, anything like that?
Not to my knowledge. Now, now some buffet somewhere, that snuck some nutria in the menu. I don't know. I haven't intentionally. Okay, not intentionally.
Yeah, well, it's healthy for you. It has a lot of nutrients.
Everything was being set up for that joke, and I'm sorry you had to hear that, Johnny.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, well, if you want to listen to a different podcast, Johnny has one, and you tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's called the Earn Fun Average podcast, where average is what we do best. It's with myself, and I co-host with Eric Profit from the great city of Wichita, Kansas. And it really just started as a Twitter conversation, just following each other on Twitter. And then it became direct messaging. And he said, "You want to start a podcast?" Kind of joking. I'm like, yeah, sure. And so I think we have 57, 58 have been released. We've had 2 of the 3 gentlemen that are on this call. Mr. Tyler's episode has not dropped yet. We need Sam. Sam, I'm going ahead and plugging right now. Live.
Yeah, Sam.
I'm ready. I stand ready to join anybody's podcast who will have me.
Sam's always very difficult. You have to go through his agent and his publicist.
You're my agent.
They're very.
We have to have a meeting about that.
The gates to the Sam Dykstra throne are very guarded.
I had not called my legal counsel to start the process. Live from Samarillo from last week.
There we go.
Of the podcast. We've had some really neat guests. I said this to somebody the other night. It's amazing who has come on the podcast, and it's kind of amazing who kind of turned you down. It's an interesting study when you reach out to people and ask if you would like to be on this podcast. And most people have been very gracious, but some people just, they do we just don't respond. That kind of approach instead of just saying flat out no. I think Eric has somebody. Now, he did have one person just outright say no. Most of the time they just don't respond back. But we really have been fortunate with the guests that we've had. And we had Ryan McGee as well. That probably was the 3rd nervousness of my life. The day I got married, 1. The day our child was born, 2. And right before that interview on Zoom would probably be 3. Like, is this really going to happen? Especially being in the South, SEC. He's, and that book is hilarious. Wow, that's a good book. I don't know how many books he sold. He sold 1 to me and 1 to Eric Profit. So I know and it's really, really good. It is hilarious. His stories, he's such a great storyteller, and it was really cool. The 30 minutes or so we talked with him. It was actually done like at 11:30 in the morning. Like, Eric missed work. He took an extended lunch hour, to do this interview at 11:30 when Ryan could come on. It was a great experience. Really was a cool experience.
All right, Johnny. Well, we're asking everybody this question as we wrap up these interviews. What are you looking forward to most about the rest of the 2023 minor league baseball season?
Just to go to some stadiums that I haven't been. I haven't been to Madison, Alabama yet. See, where we live at, I don't have a team close by. Like, the closest affiliated team is probably Memphis, and that's like 2 hours. So there's not that 30-minute, 1 hour commute to a minor league park. Madison would be about 2 hours and 40 minutes. Birmingham's about 2:30. If things work out, we're planning on going to Rickwood tomorrow for a college game. My alma mater, the Mighty Blazers of UAB, are playing a college classic game against Birmingham Southern tomorrow. But that's still a little bit up in the air. But that's everything with the Bolin family guys is tentative. So everything with us is tentative. So, tentatively, we're scheduled to go to Rickwood tomorrow, which, of course, I love. And, I'd love to see Madison. Love to go back to Memphis. Just looking forward to going to some minor league ballparks this summer. We've been to Nashville already, which was great. That was my first visit to First Horizon Park. It was great. I've been to Greer a couple times, in the past. Really, really, really smartly designed ballpark in Nashville. Stuff for the single folks, the 20-somethings that want to hang out. If you've got kids, you got putt-putt, you got game. It's all there together. It's really, really smart the way they put that ballpark together.
Hi, my name is John Topoleski, and my favorite thing about minor league baseball is really the accessibility of players. Going to go to a lot of games and I take photos and get autographs, and just being able to connect with players really helps me really connect more with the game. And then it's really cool seeing these guys when they're at the major league level saying, hey, I talked with him way back when.
John, you're one of our longest tenured fans, I think. I mean, we remember interacting with you on Twitter and stuff going back to the early years of the podcast, and it's been so cool to keep that relationship alive over the years. And you let us know in your email when we asked you to come on, and one of the things that you just mentioned a moment ago, you do photography stuff. Go to minor league baseball games, take pictures. You got an Instagram site, you got a Smug Mug site. How did that start, and what is it about photography that kind of enables you to channel or enhance your passion for minor league baseball? Because that's such a cool hobby, and doing sports photography is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always been sort of a little bit of into sort of photography a little bit as an interest, and then I remember when I first started, I was in Toledo, Ohio for a few years back or for a few months actually, only back in 2001. And I got my first sort of real film camera, and went to some Mud Hens games, and it was film. So I wasn't really taking action shots, but I was taking a lot of pictures of players. Because in Toledo it was actually interesting because there was the players had to walk from the clubhouse to the stands, through the crowd. And so I would stop players and ask them if I could take their photo, and then I'd get prints developed. And when they would come back through later in the season, I would get them to autograph them. And then, sort of in 2013, really, the minor league baseball bug really, I've been going to minor league games, a few here and there. When I was in I lived in New Orleans, went to New Orleans for grad school, and went to some Zephyrs games there. But then 2013, the minor league baseball bug really hit me, and I don't know, just something about combining that with photography just really got me into with digital camera. I can take sort of action shots as well, and it's easy enough to get them printed at like a local store, or I have an online place I send them to, and so to really get then get them autographed where I can.
Yeah, and you mentioned really getting into minor league baseball in 2013. I believe it was in 2014 that we crossed paths at a Erie Seawolves game, and and I know since then you've been done your fair share of minor league ballpark travels. What are some of your favorite ballparks as you've gotten out there and been able to explore a little bit?
Well, I would like to steal an answer from Ben Hill, who says, it really depends on the level. I mean, I don't really have favorites, I guess. Just put me in a ballpark and I'm happy. Some ballparks are better for taking photos or for getting autographs, which are, and then others are just, I remember on my road trip, really the first one I went to, my first real big road trip. So the sort of week and a half before Labor Day, I do a big sort of 10 or 12 day road trip somewhere. And that's where I met Ben. And I mean, the first one I did, I remember in the first sort of real big stadium I went to was in Greensboro. And I thought, wow, this is spectacular. It was, I think it was maybe the first year of the stadium there in Greensboro. And on that trip, I also remember being very impressed with Birmingham, because that was the first year Birmingham had opened the Barron Stadium there. And just how spectacular that was. I just didn't, my sort of, I'd only been to a handful of minor league stadiums up to that point. And so just seeing those were really impressive. So, I don't, for me, there's not even what some people might consider to be the worst state with some of the worst stadiums are, perfectly fine for me. Put me there, let me take some photos, and I'll have a good time.
Yeah, there you go. And you mentioned it at the top of this, how much you enjoy the accessibility of minor league baseball, how easy it is to take pictures of these guys and then loop back and get their autographs. And I'm sure a lot of guys have come to you and been surprised at how good the photos are. I mean, I've seen some of them that you take and how happy they must be to see such high quality photography of themselves. What's an interaction that you can remember either as your favorite or was maybe the most surprising of somebody who you thought might be inaccessible, but was actually super easy to chat with?
Well, sometimes it helps with a guy who's known to be like a tough autograph. Just recently, I won't say the name, but it was a player who, again, known to be a tough autograph. I posted the sort of photos on Instagram, and he reached out to me, and I said, "Oh yeah, would you, can I if I bring a photo for you, extra copy for you, would you sign at the game?" He's like, "Oh yeah, sure, of course." And I got, some autographs from this guy. And in fact, he was the only, he maybe signed for one autograph for one other person at the game. So I feel like that was a real, but honestly, for me, a lot of times it's not even necessarily the big names that, I see a lot of photographers are at games, but I'm still there in the 8th and 9th inning of a mop-up game trying to get that photo of the reliever in a 12-1 game, and those players, they I think they really appreciate the photos I take as well, because the top prospects, everyone's taking pictures of the top prospects, not everyone's taking photos of that mop-up reliever.
I will say that's a very valuable thing, because I've worked in minor league baseball front offices, and there are times when we're looking around for, hey, this guy just got promoted. Do we have a picture of him? Craig Kimbrell is a name that comes to mind. When Craig Kimbrell came through Myrtle Beach when I was working in the Carolina League, we had no pictures of him, because the photographers, when the light goes bad, they don't stick around generally for the night games. And so we would rarely. So that's a very valuable service that you're performing, John. And I'm sure those guys very much appreciate it. Before we get you out of here, we're ending on the same question for everybody, but I have to ask you first. It's an audio only medium, of course, podcast. So I have to ask you to describe the outfit that you got going on for folks who are tuned in.
I don't know. I have a suit and tie, shirt and tie on.
That's the only unique element.
And a Phillies dangle as well. So, which I have.
You got a Phillies blue mohawk down the middle, red dangly sides with the Phils logo. I'm digging it. I like it.
Is that called a dangle? I guess
it's called a dangle.
Yeah, I guess I didn't know that.
I also have a Fanatic dangle, and it's what I wore. I actually just sent you on the email. I sent you a picture of my of my onesie that I wore at the National League Championship Series.
Amazing. All right, John, tell us the thing that you are most excited about for this minor league baseball season in 2023, or the future of minor league baseball in your life.
Well, I think, I'm born and raised in Philadelphia, so I'm a Phillies fan by birth. But I think the Orioles are my sort of second favorite team, and because in DC area, I see a lot of a lot of their teams are in the area here, and so really just the Orioles system is just really, the guys are loaded. It's a stock system, and the players, most of them are really friendly, and it's just really, really fun seeing them go from Del Mar, well, even back in New York Penn League days on up. So it's just that's really cool. And then seeing, again, going to Camden Yards and seeing them and having them remember me as well. So, which is really kind of cool.
Hi, I'm Lynn Smith from West Branch, Iowa, and I love minor league baseball because it's just a fun outdoor activity to watch the players advance along the minor leagues into the major leagues. If they don't make it, that's all right. They play with passion, and it's a good time to be had with friends, to just be outdoors and watch an activity, watch the game, and kick back and have a cold beverage and like that.
Yeah, and Lynn, you're one of our favorite people on Twitter in terms of interacting with us, and since the beginning. I mean, you've been there for a long time. You've met, been on the road, you've traveled to a bunch of these places. But when do you first remember having these feelings about minor league baseball and realizing like this is, one of my favorite sports to watch and follow and travel to?
Probably since I moved here to Iowa in 2000. I had crisscrossed a couple of minor league teams earlier. I used to live in Denver and saw the first minor league games I saw were the Denver Zephyrs back in the early 90s, pre-Rockies, pre New Orleans Zephyrs / Baby Cakes. So that was my entrance into it long ago. But then I moved to Montana. There wasn't really a lot going on team wise. And if there was a 3 or 4 hour drive for anything close by, and it didn't really catch. But when I moved to Iowa in 2000 for the position I have now, Cedar Rapids Colonels were just 35 miles down the road. Quad City River Bandits was about 50 miles, and that was a lot closer, more convenient to check it out. And University of Iowa is just about 10, 15 miles down the road, so I can watch the college kids as well.
Yeah, so you've seen a lot of minor league baseball through the years, done a lot of trips. Also support the teams in other ways. You have a lot of shirts, jerseys, hats.
Mm-hmm.
But I also remember during the lost season of 2020, the COVID year, when teams did mystery boxes, and a lot of teams did that. They just said, hey, send us $20 or whatever it was, and we'll send you a box of stuff we have in the office.
Mm-hmm.
You were the on the mystery box leaderboard, not that it officially existed, but you were number one on the mystery box leaderboard. And I'm just wondering, now that a few years has passed, do you still have just that much more minor league ephemera junk?
I do. I'm not quite actively collecting it as I was back then during the COVID year, but I wanted to support teams as I could, since I couldn't go anywhere, and I was able to in that way connect with teams that I wasn't likely to go see because of the distance. When am I going to be in Vermont or Connecticut or somewhere far in the, far away to the east or to the west? And you'd written an article about my exploits with the mystery boxes, and Stockton Ports picked up on it, and they sent me a tweet, hey, buy a box. So I did.
Yeah.
So, it got other people's attention, and if someone wanted me to buy a box, I did. There was some teams I didn't get a box. I'm still using my assorted. I have some things. Right now I've got a Rocket City Trash Panda lanyard I use for my ID badge. It's one of 5 or 6 in my drawer that I use. I have enough. I rotate them every other day to change up my look. But it's fun. The hats I got, I randomly, when I go to a Colonel's game or Quad City or whatever, grab one of them as I walk out the door. It's not a Colonel's hat. It might be Lexington Legends or Lansing Lugnuts or some other place far away that people look at it like, oh, were you there? Do you know about that? Or who is that? And some people don't know what some of these mascots are or what the logos are on the hat. And it's fun.
Lynn, over the last several years, you've been one of our favorites on Twitter, and you're always so positive, and you got such a love for minor league baseball, and that's something that we identify with and love so much. And I know the teams appreciate that too. What has been the coolest thing for you about getting a chance to interact with some of these teams? There are, people behind those Twitter accounts and behind those orders from front offices and all of that. How has that helped enhance your love for minor league baseball?
Well, in one case, through Twitter, I met Jesse Goldberg Strassler of the Lansing Lugnuts. I'd gone to their opening day game back in 2019 and bought a hat and whatnot, t-shirt. And when they came back to play the Quad City River Bandits, surprise, it was the Mississippi was flooded, so they had to relocate their games to Iowa City. So I was like, oh, cool, that's even closer than Quad Cities. I'll go to this game and I'll sit on the Lansing side and wear my hat. And because they're a far away team, they could use some cheering. And I'm sitting there and I see this fellow walk by with a Lansing polo shirt. And I said, go Lugnuts. And he stopped and chit-chatted a bit. And I found out who he was. And he took my picture and put it on the Lugnuts account. And it just kind of took off from there. So I've sort of adopted Lansing as my secondary minor league team, other than the two that are so close.
Jesse makes
And-
that easy because he's so likable,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he makes that team so easy to cheer for.
Oh, right. Jesse's a sweetheart. And, the lug nuts, who doesn't like a lug nut? They're the kind of funny thing. And their Locos Copa identity is fun. I like the Copa. It's a fun way to represent another culture, and you go to a game, you enjoy the different looks of the teams, and often the teams will have specialty food items that, from time to time, and just a good way to interact.
And what kind of recommendations do you have for somebody who might be trying to start their own broad minor league fandom?
Join Twitter. Find we've kind of congealed, I think, during the COVID year. A lot of fans, somehow we just sort of found each other, and now we're meeting up in person and going to games and sharing. A lot of people collect those little ice cream helmets and the little mini helmets, and we trade, and here, post a picture. Hey, here's this new helmet from this team. Like, oh, get me one. And like, you post a picture, and within an hour, 5 people want one. And so you swap and trade. And it's a fun little community that's just kind of coalesced around the love of minor league baseball.
I think we might have to sign ourselves up to this ice cream hat exchange at some point.
I like that idea.
Get on this list.
Nah, Paul Caputo has cornered them.
Yeah, Paul. Yeah, that's true.
That's the guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. All right, Lynn, we're having everybody. The last thing we're asking everybody is, we're now talking to you in early May, but there's a lot of the season left. What are you looking forward to most about the remainder of the 2023 minor league season?
I think just seeing how it plays out. Some teams are off to kind of a rough start. They're up and down, and just to see how they can level out and be competitive. And I've got some travels picked up, looking up in the future. I've got Las Vegas next week. I'll be cheering for my first Aviators game. That'll be fun. And I've got some travels planned in Washington State, and hopefully some other minor league and independent throughout the summer, just kind of random weekends. I'm bored, who's home? Let's go see, and, make a hotel reservation when I get there, or just sort of show up at the door.
My name is Caleb Webb. My favorite thing about minor league baseball is the community aspect of the game. So it's something that it encompasses all the great things about all these individual communities, throws it in the game that I love, baseball, and ties it into family and friends, and it just becomes a complete experience.
All right, Caleb, tell us about your baseball roots. We all have known and interacted with you for a long time on Twitter, and you're a huge baseball fan, and a Cubs fan, and a guy who loves the minor leagues in their entirety, not just in that organization. Tell us about where this germinated in your baseball life.
Well, it really all started. My dad was in the Navy, so I'm a Navy brat. And we were in Norfolk, Virginia. So my first professional experience with the game of baseball was the Norfolk Tides, they were at the time the Tidewater Tides, a New York Mets affiliate. And then I moved back home to Huntington, West Virginia, got to see the Huntington Cubs. And so in terms of professional baseball, that's where my roots were. It was always minor league baseball. And I've always enjoyed the community feel of that. My brother was a big baseball fan. I grew up, just loving the game of baseball. We're a baseball family. So that's the long and the short of it.
Now, Caleb, in the email you sent us, giving us a little background info on yourself, you talked about how you interned with the Pittsburgh Pirates in college. So I'd like to hear about that experience. And then the follow-up, I nearly took out Kerry Wood's knee with boxes of hats. So first of all, let's talk about the experience of interning for a major league team, but then we'd of course like to hear that specific story.
It was an amazing experience. PNC Park is a beautiful ballpark, and the front office with the Pirates they're just amazing people, and it's a fantastic organization. It was surreal getting to see that side of the game. growing up a fan of baseball, and then getting to see the back end, seeing Andrew McCutcheon walking through the hallway and getting to talk to him one-on-one was just an amazing experience. But as Tyler alluded to earlier, I'm a Cubs fan, so in this particular game, Kerry Wood, he was with the Cleveland Indians at the time, and he had closed out a game. I see him walking to the tunnel. I had a kiosk up in the right field stands, and I'm planning the whole thing out. I'm playing it out in my head. I'm going to go down into the tunnel. I'm going to meet him. I'm going to say, Kerry Wood, big fan. I'm a Cubs fan. Loved you with the Cubs. Remember your 20 strikeout game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Back of my head, I don't think that's actually going to happen, right? I'm not going to time this that well. So I've got a big cart of hats, and on the top of the hats is a small box of gas cards. Walk down the tunnel. Sure enough, here comes Kerry Wood. Kerry Wood comes walking across the tunnel, and I freeze. I go completely stiff because I can't believe I actually timed it perfectly. Everything goes flying off of that cart. Boxes go flying, hats go flying, gas cards go flying. Comes within an inch. He actually had to move out of the way not to get hit by the boxes. And when the gas cards fly over across the tunnel, he steps over and goes, whoops, and walks into the clubhouse. And that was my interaction with my favorite player, Kerry Wood.
Well, you mentioned, they were boxes of hats, but now you're tweeting every year about a hat tournament that you do.
I am.
That it doesn't just involve minor league baseball, involves indie league teams, collegiate wood bat league teams. How have you kind of learned about the lower levels of baseball through doing that tournament and reaching out to clubs and seeing who's most excited about that tournament?
Yeah, it was really, it started out with just a few teams that really the Cubs organization, South Bend, Myrtle Beach, those two teams specifically, I had a really good relationship with their front office staff. I actually interviewed the Pelicans front office staff with my podcast that we're no longer recording, but I got to interview those guys, and really just everything set up that perfectly for that tournament. And it really allowed me to build relationships with not just the Cubs organizations, but organizations across the league, Eugene Emeralds, the Hops, and then, like you mentioned, some independent teams. And it's just been fantastic to be able to interact, one, with fans of the game, but also these front offices, and then being able to connect those front offices with the fans of the teams that they're following.
Yeah, and as you're doing this tournament, what have you learned about what both the public values in a minor league hat and what you personally value in a minor league hat?
What I have noticed is people really love originality. So, if your team is named after the big league club, your team's not going to do so hot. But also the fans really love engagement. So if the team is really highly engaged in that tournament or in that matchup, typically that team's going to win. That's why I think you see independent and collegiate wood bat leagues doing so well in the tournament. I'm actually probably going to have to split it up and do two separate tournaments to give some of these minor league clubs a chance at it, because they do so well interacting on social media.
Caleb, you noted that one of the things you love most is how minor league baseball takes the thing that you love and makes it a family-centric endeavor. What does it mean to you to be able to share something like this that you love so much with your family?
Yeah, it means everything to me. My son, he's 3 years old, and I lovingly refer to him as Baby McBoatface, because I did a video with him with the Myrtle Beach Pelicans with David Bodie's grand slam, but just being able to pour that part of myself into my family and the people that I love, my friends, they know how much I love the game. That's kind of my introduction to everyone is oh yeah, he's a baseball guy. He's a baseball guy. My boss himself, he jokingly calls me a minor league baseball influencer. But I wouldn't go that far, but it's just something that allows me to connect with people, and that's ultimately what I love.
All right, man. Well, give us the thing that you are most excited about for minor league baseball in 2023.
I gotta say, probably seeing Matt Mervis just completely tear up Iowa baseballs. Love seeing it.
This is Donovan Jones with Friars on the Farm. And God, one of the funnest things I like about minor league baseball is the fun, where, kids are learning the game and developing their skills in minor league baseball, when all around you are kids running around, having fun in between shenanigans in the innings, just the overall circus carnival atmosphere that you get at a minor league game. And that's what I love about it.
And I'm Roy from Friars on the Farm. My favorite thing about minor league baseball is getting to watch tomorrow's pros come up and getting to know the people a little bit outside of the uniform.
That is fantastic. Guys, let's talk a little bit about how the podcast idea came about. You guys talk Padres prospects and obviously a system that has generated so much talent in recent years. But, it's a challenge sometimes when you are trying to get into diving into the nuts and bolts of something like a minor league system. Donovan, how did this whole thing come about, and how has it helped grow your love for the game of baseball the way you guys have focused on the system in the San Diego organization?
Well, back in 2018, when we started the podcast, there were several Padre podcasts, and the team back in 2018 was not very good. So they were all of varying degrees of just talking about how crappy the team was, but no one really talked about the minor league system. And this is just 2 years after, AJ Preller's $80 million, spending spree on the international market. And I started out literally. Episode 1 was me reading box scores by myself, him and Han and on throughout the whole thing. And Roy was someone I knew on Twitter. I didn't know him personally, but I saw that he knew the system and was very thoughtful in what he was tweeting about, and asked him to join. And ever since then, it's been a blast. The greatest thing about our podcast is we're interested in the player, the person behind the player. And that's really the big thing for us. And through our interviews, sure, we want to know what you throw, what you're hitting, what you're doing, but we want to know what makes you tick. We want to know the personal side of the player, really.
Yeah. And through these interviews, Roy, like what has stood out most to you? I mean, what is a memory you have about a specific guy who might be, a capital G guy now, or somebody who not many people knew much about at the time and became much more of a household name as he developed in that Padres system?
Well, the guys that stand out most to me when you first ask that question are the people that haven't quite made it. And some of the guys that have actually left baseball, Lee Solomon is a guy that comes to mind, who was in Fort Wayne for a couple of years and was a utility infielder, kind of does everything, but he was the glue guy on that team. And when we talked to him, he was such an interesting individual with a ton of depth. And I think he's now going to law school, and I could see him being a politician or, something along those lines in the future. But one of the guys that we got close with really early on, who I think still has a bright future, is Blake Hunt, catcher in the Rays organization. We were just blown away by how well he was able to describe the craft of catching, and how much insight and how much thought it was clear that he put into what he does. But we've also got to know him, like, just by chance, we were at spring training and we're hanging out at one of these backlots fields, and we're chatting with people. And next thing you know, here's Blake Hunt's dad. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I listened to your podcast. I sent it to Sam Geeney, the director of Padres development. I told him to have a listen to it." And, that was just kind of a cool moment that, it's like, what? There are people out there that actually pay attention to this. It was neat.
Well, you guys so far have been talking about, the players in the Padres system, which is obviously understandable, but my mind always shifts to the other side of the minor leagues and the ballparks. And you got some gems in the San Diego system, from Lake Elsinore to Fort Wayne to San Antonio to El Paso. What has your impression of the system been, just in terms of the ballparks and the cities where they play?
Well, I've had more of an opportunity to visit the different ballparks. I know Donovan's been up to Lake Elsinore a whole bunch of times. They're just an hour and a half from us. But I've had the opportunity to get out to El Paso a couple of times, and I've been out to Fort Wayne, and I can't say enough nice things about both of those ballparks. They're a beautiful facility, but the people that fill the ballpark really are what make it tick. So in El Paso, you've got this fantastic community of really supportive baseball fans that you wouldn't really expect in a city like El Paso. But then you go to the game and it's just packed and everybody's got so much energy. And then in Fort Wayne, I mean, top to bottom, that organization is just world class. I mean, there's a reason why the park wins awards every year. Mike Nutter just won Minor League Executive of the Year. Yeah. John Nolan, their broadcaster, and everybody that works for them they've got this welcoming spirit to them. They're knowledgeable about what they do and they're passionate about what they do. And it's reflected in the fans that fill the seats.
Yeah.
Guys, over your tenure with the podcast and learning more about the community of people who are interested in it, what's been coolest to you as the podcast has grown? People have gotten more interested. Obviously, the Padres, with so much at the major league level, have sent away a lot of the talent at the minor league level in order to build that big league roster. And sometimes that's the cost of doing business, to make yourselves competitive at the highest level. But what's been coolest about, embedding yourselves in that prospect community and finding what fans love about that?
Well, kind of the coolest thing that we've done is through our interviews with players, we'll take little quotes. Like we were interviewing Mackenzie Gore in spring training, and he's like, all I can do is, control what I can control and dominate the day. And I was like, we got to put that on a shirt. And worked through his agent, the Boris Corporation, ended up putting on a shirt and spending and taking that money, every red cent of it. And that time we sent the money to the Lake Elsinore Booster Club, who back then, a few years back, minor league players were absolutely making dirt, just making no money. Another interview we had with Ryan Weathers, he said, my dad always said you can't make the club from the tub. And once again, I was like, holy crud, we got to put that on a t-shirt. And we sold that shirt and raised funds for the Booster Club. Our latest one was, and probably going to be a final one, simply because of the changes in the minor league landscape, is James Wood and Jackson Merrill are really good friends. And actually, the picture that I sent you guys was a picture taken by Jenny Merrill, Jackson's mom. And it was a damage duel. And what we did with that money is we helped with a Chipotle gift card giveaway. And with the remainder of that money, I was able to buy 7 tubs of sunflower seeds and 3 tubs of Double Bubble. And, I brought it up there. It took up every inch of my car. And I brought it up there. And, those guys are just, I still don't see sunflower seeds in the dugout to this day, but they were just used up so quick. And that's kind of one of the things about our podcast is not only do we want to tell their story, we also want to be advocates for them in a way. We've had Garrett Brocious come on, and we've had Emily Walden back when she wrote the article in The Athletic about minor league pay, and kind of like, amplify those issues and look where we are today with the union agreement. And it's there's still work to be done, but it's been a really fun thing about that.
All right, you guys, we're wrapping every conversation that we've had on this episode with this question. And Roy, I'm going to have you answer first, and Donovan, you can finish this off. What are you most excited about and most looking forward to for the remainder of this 2023 minor league baseball season this year?
Oh man, I have a hard time answering that about minor league stuff because I'm a little bit distracted by what's going on in the big league. I mean, I'm going to
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
But we're watching Jackson Merrill do his thing. I guess what excites me most right now is that the Lake Elsinore Storm has a crazy pitching staff full of a bunch of guys fresh out of high school or their first year out of college that most of these guys nobody's ever heard of, but they're going to make a name this year. And it's going to be a lot of fun watching those guys do their thing.
Yeah. And for me, we have with 2022's draft pick in Dylan Lesko, who 21. Who has been working through Tommy John surgery. He should be up later this year. And then the Uber prospect in Ethan Salas, who the Padres just signed for $5.6 million. And everything we've heard about Ethan Salas at 16 years old has been absolutely phenomenal. Like the kid acts, and you saw him in spring training, he just acts like a major leaguer already. So we're really excited about that. And once again, as Padre fans, we don't know what's going on with the payroll. We don't know if this is real world of what's been going on, but we're just enjoying the ride.
They say that Salas might be making his debut in Single A this summer, before the summer league starts up in Peoria.
Hi, my name's Eric Mertens. I go by Eric the Peanut Guy with the Tri-City Dust Devils. And my favorite thing about minor league baseball is how it is probably the most pure thing out there that connects people, whether on a community basis or nationwide or internationally.
Yeah, and Eric, you've connected with a lot of people through minor league baseball through the years, and with all due respect to everyone we talked to, we've had so many great conversations. I feel like we could talk to you for a long time with all the various angles of your fandom.
I'm down. I got all afternoon.
yeah, and not just fandom, but being involved with a specific team. That team being the Tri-City Dust Devils. You are synonymous with the Tri-City Dust Devils in a way that mascots often are. You, of course, are not a mascot, a flesh and blood human, but you have been with the team since the beginning. As players come and go, as so much changes, you are constant with the team. I wrote a story about your career with the Dust Devils when I visited, and that was a number of years ago. But if you could just talk about that a little bit, about just getting involved initially with the Tri-City Dust Devils and how that initial step into the ballpark leads us to now, 23 years later, you're still with the team and you are, Mr. Dust Devils baseball to the point where there's a life-size bobblehead of you at the ballpark. So tell us the origin story.
Yeah. Oh gosh. It's been the biggest blessing of my life, one of the biggest blessings of my life, because I was 17 years old, living in the Tri-Cities, Washington, when our independent baseball team moved away, and we got a brand new affiliated team, moved here from Portland, Oregon. They were the Portland Rockies, and they became the Tri-City Dust Devils. And at the time, I was playing varsity baseball in high school. I was in love with the game. I'm a lifelong Mariners fan. But minor league baseball was new to me. I was just really excited we had an affiliated professional team come to town, because I love this place. I love this region of the Northwest. I love the Tri-Cities. And so I started working there thanks to one of my best friends. We were the first two ever peanut vendors out at Gisa Stadium. And I remember the moment it switched for me from just enjoying a fun job at a ballpark to realizing this is much bigger than just me or much bigger than the Dust Devils. We used to sell those old posters with all the minor league baseball hats that MILB would come out with every year. We sold those at our team store, and I bought one day after a game, and I went home and I just sat there for hours looking at all these hats and how cool they looked, but also a bunch of cities I recognized. Like, I had some relatives in the Midwest that lived in some of these cities. I'd been to some of them on the West Coast, and I realized at that point, I got to get more into this. This is great. And if all the ballparks are as friendly and as engaging as the Tri-Cities ballpark, this is going to be fun. And that's what I found through my travels.
It's amazing, the amount of people that we've talked to on this show or on social media or whatever who saw their love of minor league baseball begin with the hat posters.
Really?
Yeah, because that is
cool.
Far from the first time that we've heard that. And I know even when I was a kid, I had those hat posters and I would do the same thing. It was up on the door to my bedroom and I would just stand there and look at them and think like, oh, I wonder where this team is. I wonder what this nickname means.
Yeah.
And it's incredible because you get exposed to so many different parts of this country, so many different things about the game of baseball that you had never known before. What's something that you think through your time working with the Dust Devils, whether it's about baseball or just about people, what's something that you think you've learned from your time in minor league baseball that you wouldn't have known at this stage of your life if not for having been around the game that much?
That's a great question. I think I've learned the most from our season ticket holders who come year after year, and I've seen them get older. Well, we all get older, hopefully. And I've had some dear friends who passed away, who were season ticket holders, and their love for connecting with people. Baseball for them, and of course, I love the game, they love the game, but it's more about connecting with their neighbors and their communities night after night throughout the summer. That's what I've really learned. And especially the past few years with kind of the polarization that's happened politically in the country and through a pandemic and all the crap that's come and gone. And there'll be people at the ballpark wearing shirts or hats for different presidential candidates, but we're all cheering for the Dust Devils and we're all giving each other high fives. And for maybe 3 hours, well, now more like 2.5, 2:15, for that amount of time a night, we can be on the same team and realize we have a lot more in common. And that's what I find too. I love traveling to other minor league ballparks and buying a hat for that team and putting it on, because now I'm automatically part of that community for 2 to 3 hours, and I'm welcomed with open arms.
And given all this experience that you've had, and the rhythm of the season and getting into it, and knowing what's coming, what still surprises you? I mean, I imagine there's still some stuff that you will show up and it's like, maybe that's something I've never seen before.
Yeah, that's something that I've been experiencing a lot just this past month. I went to my first baseball game of the year back at the beginning of April. I was by myself. I was in the Seattle area. So I went to a Mariners game, and that was the first time since September that I just sat and breathed and relaxed. And the thing is, I work in ministry. I work in campus ministry. So I'm always preaching about that, sometimes literally, like, stop. You need to take some time for yourself. You need to slow down. But for me, baseball, major league, minor league, is a chance to breathe. And that seems to surprise me every spring, like every spring. I cannot wait to go on some of these road trips my wife and I have scheduled to minor league parks, especially to just sit, grab a beer, grab a hot dog, and breathe and be in the sunshine. I don't know why it continues to surprise me, but it does.
That sounds lovely that it continues to surprise you, though.
Yeah.
That's like a very refreshing thing. I like that a lot.
Thank you. Me too.
And you mentioned your wife, and you got married kind of very on brand for how much the Dust Devils against you. You got married at the ballpark. You got to pose with your own life-size bobblehead in wedding photos. You got to have what really seemed to be, based on who you are and who you are as a couple together, just a perfect setting for the wedding. What was that like, getting to be able to have that life moment tied in with something that's already so important to you?
I never thought it was going to happen. That was always my secret like life goal, is to have the wedding reception at Gisa Stadium. And it was the year before, so 2021 season, and Karina and I were walking out of the ballpark after a Dust Devils game, and she started looking around. We weren't even engaged yet. And she said, "This would be a great place for a wedding reception." And I was like, yes! If I would have had a ring. Yeah.
Hint, Eric.
I know. I swear, if I had a ring at that moment, it would have
Man,
happened.
that's how you know you got the one, though. That's pretty sweet.
Yes. Thank gosh. Like, I didn't even bring it up because I thought, I don't know. I didn't think it'd even be a possibility. And then when I asked the front office, especially Daryl Ebert, who's our vice president, general manager, he was almost like, yeah, well, we always assumed that you would have your wedding here.
We just figured this is we've been planning this for 20 years, Eric.
Exactly. They would roll out like a whole binder they've been building. And that was the best example of just people in minor league baseball, because I become dear friends with the front office staff over the years. And we picked the first Saturday after a potential playoff season. So it was the first available Saturday at the ballpark, taking into account possible postseason scenarios. And they just rallied after working a long season. They were all on board. They cleaned the stadium. They set it up. We had dance floors. Guests could play catch on the field. We had the bouncy houses up for the kids. The concession stand was open, but it was serving like wedding fare, And my family came from out of town. Her family came from out of town. It was the best. It was the best night of my life. It was a September sunset at a minor league ballpark, and we had our wedding reception. It was magical.
All right, Eric. Well, we're ending every interview with this question. We're about a month into the season. You've allowed yourself to be surprised at how calm things can get. But look forward to the rest of 2023. What are you most looking forward to about the remainder of the 2023 minor league season?
This episode is brought to you by Subaru. Go further in a long-range Subaru hybrid with up to 597 miles per tank in the Crosstrek hybrid and up to 581 miles per tank in the Forester hybrid. Subaru. Love goes the extra mile. Visit Subaru.com/hybrid to learn more. Range based on EPA estimated combined fuel economy and a full tank of fuel. Actual mileage and range may vary.
Oh my gosh. I want more alternate identities. It seems like every other day Logovember might be a thing of the past, unfortunately, for a total rebrand. Hopefully not, but it seems like every other day there's another alternate identity. And as someone, my rule is I have had to visit the ballpark to buy the hat. And I've been to quite a few now. So all these alternate identities I'm immediately purchasing, which now as a married man, I need to watch my bank account a little bit more. But I love this. It seems like the past few years we've been coming out of COVID. It seems like maybe, fingers crossed, this is the year where we're finally going full steam ahead. Let's celebrate the fun of minor league baseball. Let's celebrate the hyper local elements and characteristics of the team. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
How much fun was that? A lengthy episode of the show before the show in which people said so much incredible, nice stuff about us, which, as bizarre as this is, we did not even pay them to do. We didn't pay them to say the nice things, and they still said them. That's humbling to me.
Yeah, we paid them for other reasons. No, we didn't. But no, this was really nice. This was really edifying. This was what I really appreciated was that it was a rich tapestry. This was not just people coming on and saying the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
That would get boring, and we don't want to give you guys a boring episode. But it was so nice just to hear like all of the things you can enjoy at the ballpark, or all of the things you can enjoy about minor league baseball when you're following from home, or what you can, how people got through the pandemic by doing other things. It just shows what we talk about every week on this show, is that there are so many angles from which to come to minor league baseball, and so many different regions of the country. We had people from the Pacific Northwest, from the San Diego region, people coming from the East Coast, and all points in between, Iowa. It was really encompassed what minor league baseball was, which was our goal, but it was nice to have that actually happen, and on its own too. It's not like we exactly planned it out that way. Everything you guys heard was natural and came from the mouths of the people themselves.
Yeah, you guys said it. I don't have too much to add to all that. I mean, if you're listening to this now, you probably heard a lot of what came before, and it was a wonderful experience. And like we said at the top, we're really appreciative and grateful. So enough about that. The more important thing, let's talk about me. I'm going on the road. Just want to get that out there real quick for people listening here at the end of the podcast. On Friday, May 5th, the day this podcast is released, heading to Eugene. We'll be at the Eugene Emeralds game that night, as well as for Exploding Whales Eugene Emeralds game on June 6th, then Hillsborough Hops June 7th. Minor league baseball off day May 8th, and then heading to Tacoma on May 9th and Vancouver on May 10th. So if you got any intel regarding any of those locations, or you think you might be at the game, please say hello. Because in all seriousness, meeting people and getting to know people and, forging relationships like the ones we, just featured on the show mean a lot to all of us. And looking forward to getting out there, and really glad we did this episode.
So again, in order of which we discussed minor league baseball with all of these folks: Paul Caputo, Patrick Larson, Chad Miller, Johnny Bolin, John Topoleski, Luz Rivera, Lynn Smith, Eric Mertens, Donovan Jones, a guy who I have been interacting with forever on the internet, and it was cool to see him today, and Roy Thomason as well. So awesome to get a chance to talk to all those people, and such a tremendous thanks to not only all of them, but to all of you for tuning in from week to week. We could not have done this podcast for 9 seasons now, almost, 9 years, 8 seasons, without the continued interest and love and support from all of you, and from not just fans of minor league baseball, but minor league baseball organizations, front offices, players, family members, some very amazing people who we've been lucky enough to come into contact with over nearly a decade of the Show Before the Show podcast. You can follow Ben's next road trip. He's at Ben's Biz, of course, on Twitter, at The Ben's Biz on Instagram. You can follow Sam at Sam Dykstra, MILB. Josh Jackson is at Josh Jackson, MILB, the Ghosts of the Minors legend himself. And for all of those guys, and for everybody who joined us on the show today, my name is Tyler Mon. We'll catch you next week on the Show Before the Show.